Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo 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 Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Horenge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge 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 Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Horenge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge 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 Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho Horenge kyo, namo myoho renge 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 kyo. Horenge kyo, namo myoho renge 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 kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Myoho renge kyo, namo 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 myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Myoho renge kyo, namo 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 myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho Horenge kyo, namo myoho renge 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 kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho Gekko namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho Gekko namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Myoho renge kyo, namo 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 myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho myoho renge kyo, namo 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 myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namu myoho renge kyo. Namu myoho renge kyo. Namu myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, namo myoho renge kyo, namo myoho renge kyo. Namu myoho renge kyo. Namu myoho renge kyo. Namu myoho renge kyo. Myoho renge kyo. Ho ben pondai ni di says under the mayanjo niki go shai hatsto buchi e jinjin morio. Go chi e manange nanyu isai shaman yakaji butsu funo chicho wishaga butsu go shingon. Yakusen man nakamushu sho but jingo cho but tomorrow do yam yo jo jim yo jo fu man jo jo jin jin me zo u ho suigi so to ishu nange shari to go ju jo but we rai shuju in and shuju hi yu ko en gang gang mushu ho ben indo shu sho ro di jo jaka jo wi sha ga nyorai ho ben chi ken hanamitsukai gu so ga sai Nyorai chi ken kodai din namu ya mu ge riki mu shou wi sen jo ge da samai jin yu mu sai jo ju wi sai mi so u ho shari hachi nyorai no chu ju fun betsu go she shou ho. Ganji nu na ne ga shu shin shari hachi shi yo ganji mu liao mu hen. Mi so u ho bu shi jo ju. Excuse me. Bu shi jo ju shi shari hachi shi fu shu bu se shou wi sha ga bu shou jo ju dai hk u nange shi ho yu betsu yo bu nai no ku jin. Sho Jesus, so we show honyo they so no they show no they tai no they riki no they sa no they en yo they kan yo they honyo they hon ma kugyo to. Show we show go show. My goodness, why does it happen every time? Man. There we go. Show we show ho nyo they so no they show no they tai no they riki no they sa no they en yo they kan yo they hon ma gu yo show we show go no they so no they show no they tai no they riki no they sa no they en yo they kan yo they hon ma gu yo to. Myo renge kyo no raiju yo handai ju rogadinji butsuko shobo satsuku isai daishu shosen nanchi nyo to chinge nyo raijo daishi go bugo daishu nyo to chinge nyo raijo daishi go ubugo sho daishu nyo to chinge nyo raijo daishi go seji bo satsu daishu mi rogavishu gasho bukabutsukan sesan Yui gan se shi ga to shinju butsuko nyo se sambaka ibu gan Yui gan se shi ga to shinju butsuko niji se san chi shou bo se san shou fu shi ni go shi ga nyo to da jo nyo rai hi mi jinju shi riki sai se ken ten ning yu ashura kai kon chakamune butchu chakaji gu ko ga ya jo fu on za o dojo tokwa noktara sammak zambo rai nen zen nan chi ga jijo butsu irai Muryo muhen yakizemma nakana yuta ko hinyo go yakizemma nakana yuta asogi sanzen da sensei ka keishi uni machi mi jin ka otobo go yakizemma nakana yuta asogi koku Naige ichin yose sogyo chinze mi jin chosen nanchi o I unga ze shose kai ka tokashi yu kyo ge chi go chu fumi rakabosa toku bakabutsukan se son Se sho se kai mu yo mu hen hi san ju cho chi yakai shin nikiso gyu I shai shomon yakachi butsui mu ro chi fu no chi yu chi go gen chu ga to chu. Ayu yo chi ji o ze chi chu yakisho fu da se son yo ze so se kai mu yo mu hen ni ji butsuko dai bo sa shu so zen nan chi kon to fum yo. Sengo nyo to ze sho se kai nyakachaka mi jin gu fu jakacha jini I jin ichirin I ko ga jo butsu irai buka oshi yakusenma nokana yuta. Asogi ko jiju se rai ga jo zai shi saba se kai se bo kyo ki yako yosho yakusenma nokana yuta. Asogi ko kudori shujo sho zen nanchi o ze chugen. Gatsets nendo buto ubu gango nyu o ne han yo ze kai ho ben fum betsu sho sen nanchin yaku shu sho rai shi ga sho ga I butsuken kango shinto sho kanri don chui cho odo cho cho ji jitsumyo ji fudo nenki dai sho yakabu gengon to nyu ne han ui chu ju ho ben setsumi myo ho no yo shu jo ho kangi shin sho sen nanchin yo rai ken sho shu jo yo o shobo takwa ku chu sa Izenin sazakasho shuke takwa nokotara samyak zamborai nengaji do butsu irai kuwan yakaji tani ho ben kyoke shujo ronyu butsu sanyo ze sasro zen nanchin yorai sho wen kyo then kai do da shujo wakazeko shin wakazeta shin wakajiko shin wakajita shin wakajiko ji wakajita ji chocho gan sazaka kai satsufuko sho wi shagan yorai nyoji chiken sangai mi Sangai shi so mu u shoji nyakata nyakamu zai se yu mechidosha he did he go he nyo he fu nyo sangai ken no sangai nyo shi chi chi nyo rai myo ken mu u shaka myo i shou shu jo u shu shu jo shu ju yaku shu ju go shu ju okuso funbai go yakuro shou shou sengai ni nyaka ni nen he yu gan ji shu shu sepo shou sa bu ji mi shou sanpai nyo se ga jo bu tu i rai jin dai ku won jo myo mu yo aso gi go jo ju fun bet shou zen nan chi 该行有无实做操作就妙看有面前不白做就能看起只么子你边抽干做出么子牛来在后边。叫给就做手一下个那个不个就我说下个大个新年复苏生干边个个生团这个一个牛个做。冇嘅冇就那个牛来就大夫不是边个个是你人大夫那时候难做是说可叫是现在个牛来以后边这边个多起。 小布书say 南开这个小微下个小一个当个顶卡冇了，一个什么那个挖个福建挖个挖个福建挖不是挖个福建下，一起几个干啥在讲起，是比个多。I'm gonna have to drink again. 一时之口加沙世間錯別苦牛來能夠多見其處所多門有這個人所難所起所新內人不看這個不知本處生間這個牛來最富只是本你個沒知道無人難起手不知牛來後幹牛這一道主就開始富個開始富個ही牛肉一起也所得妙人後一個人之主表 個人大所是三個那個12、12一個12 UGN 按次有個小時二個按他多個一個合作mandran and then UG 是幾個不見來幾個小時按我個是長期我個夫 Oh my goodness Stop moving 小時二多個我個是長期我個夫是下有見個不開大抗議還見門前真難弄起個多個幾個不 個不得個一個間固有小時數秒不間起到個尿尿在小個不個一個小時個秘密開始這個這個都是我個有時咯不跟你啥在間期待咯一個這個秘密開始這個這個尿多卡不個這個照顧那麼不就跟個早期就復習時間復習新者見起咯一個這個一個小時個一個 where did I go my apologies Kenshi ro yaku shikigo guko sokaben bokashi byojin joyu yoshi shinja kengo burai su yakangi manjingu jakadi byo nenyogo yakani fugo bukashoku bukashio ishaga dokajinyu shippanchinko oshiko shikiko yakani ifumi busa zen and chichi kami ni dokajo chushin kaiden do su gengaki gushakuryo nyozeko yakani fuko buku 学校とつ方便ろぶくしやくさくざぜがんよととちがこんついろちちいちせころやくこんるざいしにょかぶくにょかしゅぶくもつふさいさせきょいぶしたくげんちげんごにょぶいしせじしょしまんぶはいそうしんだよのにさせにゃにゃかぶざしゃ 自民がどの健康が患者者が温存多国自由から無無自己上映平均身長上が内地地約式個耳そ個修復し特病害が不満地設置特在人弁来期現地検視造成難地 O iunga hauni no se shiro i como zaifu hocha se son but ganga yakanyo ze jo but irai mulyo muhen yakzama nakana yuta asogi ko ishu joko. Iho ben riki gonto metro yakamu unyo nyo ho sazuka komo kasha niji se son yakuju sen chikini sasuke ganji ga dakaburai shogo shogo shu mulyo hakzama nokazai asogi. Joseph Gyogi Mushu Okushu Ronyu Obuzro Nirai Muryo Koido Judo Hobeng and Hani Titafu Metado Joju Sisa Boga Joju Oshi Ijo Jindu Regiro Tendo Judo Suigani Fuken Shuzo Shuken Ga Metsudo Kokuyo Shari Genkai Rambo Nisho Ketsuko Shinshu Joki Jin Bukachiki Nunani Shinyo Ken but Fuji Dakadi Myoji Gagu Suso Gusudro Juzen Gaji go chujo jozai jifu metsui ho ben ri go genu metsufu metsuyo kaku shujo kugyo shingyo shagabu o ichu. Isetsumu jo honyo tofu manchi dani ga mesuro ga genjo chujo matsuzai o kugai. Kofu igen shinro go chokatsugo ingo shinrenbo nai shitabi sabo jinzu rekinyo se o wasogi go. Josai roju zengyu yo cho shujo shujo kenko jindai ga jojo ji ga shi don anon teni joju manon ni chodo kakujuju o chogan. Hoju da ke ga shujo cho yu rakujo tengaku tenku josa shugi gaku mandara ke sambajigu dai shuga jodo fuki ni shuken jojin. Ufu shoku no nyo ze sitsu man ze so sai shujo iyakugo inen ka asogi kofu manza mom yo. Shou jugu doganyu wa shichikasa so kai kingai shi zai ti ni seppo wakaji ishi shu setsuba to muryo. Kunai gambuja is at the Buddha Chigachi Rikinyo ze go muryo jim yamushu goku shu go so jaganyo to uchicha. Moto jijo giro danyo yojin butsugo jippu konyo izen ho beni ji yoshi go zitsurai ni ganji muno se komo ga yakui sebuku joku gensha. Ibon butendo jitsuzai ni ga metsu ijo genga go ni shogyo shishin ho ichitaku go yokuta o akudo chuga jochi chujo gyodo fu gyodo suyo chokado isa shuju ho mai shisa zenen higaryo shujo toganyu mujodo sakujo jubu shinamu. Myo renge kyo nam. 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 Nam myo renge kyo nam myo renge kyo nam myo renge kyo. Nam myo renge kyo nam myo renge kyo nam myo renge kyo. Namo 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 myo Namo myo renge kyo. 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 Namo myo Myoho Renge Kyo Nam. 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 Okay, back. Now that I got the camera adjusted and everything, hopefully everything sounds okay. As you've noticed, I did a pretty normal speed Gongyo this morning. That's just an abbreviated Gongyo, so there's a few notes I want to make with you. First of all, I think I chanted about maybe 20 minutes to start out. Please don't use this as a model for your daily practice. This is an abbreviated Gongyo for the purposes of getting us together, getting our minds set on Buddha-ness, and in preparation for a lesson. All right. If I wanted to upload 3-hour videos, I would do a slow, complete Gongyo through every meditation, and I'm afraid that although I may do that on occasion, just to have that in the channel arsenal of videos, I think it's just too arduous for us as a Sangha for a lesson in video format. If we were here in person, that'd be different. We would be feeling Itai Doshin much more powerfully. Basically, I just want to make sure your ears are ready to hear what we're going to discuss. And in that regard, I would recommend chanting before you watch a video. In fact, I would say that any time in life, in regular daily life, Tammy, when you're about to take a test or go to an interview or work on an important project or talk to somebody that you have something important to talk, anything that you value as important in your life, chant for at least 15 minutes, 30 if you can, to be sure that the words that come out of your mouth are the right words that need to be heard or written down, whatever the challenge is, and that you are able to hear the responses correctly without the veils of your own karmic obstacles. We hear things incorrectly in their meaning from other people oftentimes because we already have all our little thought mouse traps set up, and certain key words sets us off, and it's us doing that. It's not our interlocutor. So if you want to make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen, so that there's effective communication between you and the test, or you and the whatever it is, person, task, that there's a good understanding of what's actually happening, then always I recommend chanting before, if you're able, before that interaction. Okay? So that's what this is about. We do a little recitation, a little daimoku. Our minds, our Buddha nature is stirred. Our monkeys quiet down, and we can then sit down and discuss sutra in a perceptive way, rather than you get it, right? Okay. Also, as far as the speed of Gongyo, I knew when I asked this question it was silly to ask, but there were a couple of things pointed out, so let me review that since this is a one weekly thing. Some are going to want it faster, some are going to want it slower. What's important about your Daimoku and Gongyo specifically is that you pronounce every syllable cleanly. Don't become a monk's mouth and start talking like this, because that's not meaningful. All right. What I want, there's a couple of things I want you to notice. If you're not accustomed to doing Gongyo yet, I want you to follow along with your finger in the book. Even if you can't keep up with the pronunciation, you can hear it. And as you hear it, I want you to visually point it out on the page. Because just being able to do that will inculcate the rhythm, the sound. Remember, it's singing, it's chanting. There's a lilt even to the there's an obvious verse part, right? Prose part that just got it's got the same 5 beats over and over and over again. It's really easy to get that part. It's the more discursive part, anyway, that doesn't seem so obviously so. But believe me, the reason this was spread for hundreds of years verbally was because it was a mimetic repetition and a repetition of sentences that were designed to be able to, and this is the brilliance of Shakyamuni, to teach a sermon in the way that you would repeat it to yourself in the first person, I this, I that, right? It's all throughout all the sutras like this, with no run-on sentences, no, the sentences are all pretty captured. And pay attention to the rhythms, right? In the front of the TLK liturgy book, there's a pronunciation key, right? And there are a few, not many, where if you follow the beats above the word on the page, you'll see that some have 1 beat for 2 syllables. So learning that is a great step toward getting the rhythm of chanting the Gongyo. The recitation, it is a song. Okay? So, and I'm sure you heard that develop as I kept going. This is the dry season here in Mississippi, and I apologize. There's just nothing I can do about it other than drink fluids, right? Sorry. So, for those of you who can't keep up yet, follow with your finger, look at the words, get the rhythm. Also notice that there's periods in the Gongyo. In other words, these are sentences. So it's best if you can, sentence by sentence, recite it. The rhythm will come that way. Resist the temptation to go mid-sentence and stop and take a breath and finish the sentence. Try to hold out to the end of the sentence to take your breath and then begin the next sentence. And get used to that breathing rhythm. That will help you with your Gongyo. Also, I made mention a few videos ago of that you guys are in my thoughts in my Daimoku, and somebody called me out on it and said, "Well, you said we're not supposed to chant for things, so isn't that sort of chanting for things or chanting for others?" And I wanted to clear that up if any of you, any others of you, had a confusion moment there. When I said that, and when I do say that, you are in my thoughts as I chant. As a bodhisattva, as somebody pursuing the bodhisattva practice, as we all are, all of you are in my thoughts as, again, being able to communicate effectively and clearly the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha to facilitate your path toward your enlightenment. I know that my Daimoku isn't magically flying through the air and landing in your brain and creating awakening. That's not what I meant. I'm not trying to gain something from outside of me or push something outside of me. I'm developing my practice, my conviction, my compassion, right? A big part of our enlightenment, as we discover what we truly are, how we truly are, is our environment. That's the bodhisattva practice. We are not separate, we are one. My daimoku affects me. But the me, the samsaric me that I affect with my daimoku and my recitations is a direct connection to my communication and my influence on you. And I want that influence to be worthy of you, to be inspiring for you. That's all about me and my compassion for your practice. So yeah, you're in my mind as I have no illusion that I'll make you better at recitation by chanting, but by talking to you about it, giving you clues as to how to do it, that enlightenment, that thinking, that clarity comes from my daimoku and my recitations, right? So did you see? It's all in perspective. It's how you see things, right? Okay, so today, as promised, I'm going to start a different sutra. This is the Vimalakirti Sutra, okay? It's a Mahayana sutra. It's an early Mahayana sutra. And, we were in the early parts of the perfection of wisdom, which is kind of a preface, a statement of conditions, right? Before we get into the normal lyrical kind of sutra part of it, the dialogue between Shakyamuni, Buddha, and Subhuti, and the others in this translation, in this perfection of wisdom that we've been reading. The diamond is a perfection of wisdom as well, and has the same conversation, but it doesn't have, this book anyway by Red Pine, doesn't have a lot of that preparatory text. It just gets right into the sutra. The Lankavatara is another one. This is not the Lankavatara, a perfection of wisdom, and yet all Buddhism is perfection of wisdom. So I want that to become clear by jumping around these different sutras, that there's a theme that's constantly going on here, albeit to people of different capacity, right? And we have all those capacities and more. So these will all touch some aspect of ourselves. All right, enough blah, blah, blah. Let's get into it. The Buddha lands, first chapter. One of possibly the most confusing word combinations in the teachings. Invariably, people think of Buddha lands as locations, as places we go. But I hope by now everyone understands that Buddhism is about the mind, attitude, and intent. And when we talk about Buddha lands, we're talking about the landscape in our minds, the way we perceive the world, our worldview, if you will. Okay, seen through the lens of Buddha. This is what we're always doing. This is what I heard. At one time, the Buddha was in the Amra Gardens in the city of Vaishali, accompanied by a multitude of leading monks numbering 8,000. That number keeps coming up. That's weird. I didn't know that. I didn't remember that. There were also 32,000 bodhisattvas, all known to the assembly, persons who had carried out all the basic practices of great wisdom. Sustained by the might and supernatural powers of the Buddhas, they accepted and upheld the correct law in order to guard the citadel of the Dharma. They knew how to roar the lion's roar, and their fame resounded in the 10 directions. Without waiting to be asked, they befriended others and brought them comfort. Right? This is about propagating the teachings, right? They ensured, because they're bodhisattvas, 32,000 of them. They ensured the continuance and prosperity of the 3 treasures, making certain that these never expired. They conquered and subdued the ill will of the devils and curbed the non-Buddhist doctrines. All were spotless and pure, having long ago rid themselves of snares and obstructions. Their minds constantly resided in a state of unhindered emancipation. Their mindfulness, meditation, retention of the teachings, and eloquence never faltered, and of almsgiving, keeping of the precepts, forbearance, assiduousness, meditation, wisdom, and the power to employ expedient means, there was not one they were deficient in. So to those people who occasionally remind me that meditation is all you need to know in Buddhism, that would seem to go wildly against what I just read, right? It ain't just meditation. They had learned to accept the fact that there is nothing to be grasped at, no view of phenomena to be entertained. They knew how to respond compliantly to others and to turn the regressing wheel of the law. Expert in comprehending the characteristics of phenomena, able to understand the capacities of living beings, they towered over the others of the great assembly and had learned to be fearful of nothing. That would be nice. With their merits and wisdom, they disciplined their minds. They adorned their bodies with auspicious signs, ranking foremost in aspect and form, but rejected all worldly embellishments. In fame and renown, they soared higher than Mount Sumeru. Their profound resolve was diamond-like in its firmness. The jewels of their Dharma shone everywhere, raining down sweet dew, and among the assembly the sound of their words was the most subtle and wonderful of all. They had plumbed the depths of dependent origination and cut off all erroneous views, no longer entertaining the concepts either of being or non-being. In expounding the law, they were fearless as roaring lions, and their disquisitions, that's a new one on me, on it rolled forth like thunder. That's basically a word meaning their expositions, right? When they talked about it. There was no measuring them, for they had passed beyond measure. In seeking out the jewels of the Dharma, they were like practiced pilots at sea. They had mastered all the profound and subtle meanings of the doctrines and were expert in perceiving the past and future existences of living beings and the workings of their minds. So basically all of that is a lot of praise for people who dedicate their lives to the Buddha way, becoming bodhisattvas. And as we practice and awaken our minds to the true nature of all phenomena, we understand immediately when we meet others what brought them to us. With very brief discussions, we have clear understanding of how they got to where they are, even though they obviously don't. They're still trying to figure that out. And because we have a good sense of who they are, we can, through Buddha-ness, through our knowledge of Buddhism, we can speak to them directly in the way that they need to hear to inspire them forward. Not an easy thing in regular everyday life, but these are skills that get honed and become more and more precise and even surprising to the bodhisattva, because the wisdom comes from connection to the root of all phenomena, to that root, to that land, to that mind. Everything is easily understood. And that's what we want to achieve, right? This is why it's called liberation. Because if you're liberated, if you're
disconnected from all of the influences of your own karmic energies, and you're able to see things as they are rather than through the veils of delusions that you have about what they are, then it's very easy to understand them. They don't confound you. They don't confuse you. There's never a moment when you go, what? Because that's a moment of confusion from your own karma that doesn't agree with actual phenomena. Make sense? Still talking about the bodhisattvas, they came close to equaling the freely exercised wisdom of the Buddha, the unparalleled one. His 10 powers, his fearlessness, his 18 unshared properties, though they had firmly closed the gate to all manner of evil existences, yet they allowed themselves to be born in the 5 lower realms, in this case 5 lower realms. We talk about 6 in the Lotus Sutra, right? So this is early on. And we know what those lower realms are, right? You recall the 10 worlds? Manifesting themselves there so that they might act as great physician kings, adroitly healing the ills of others, doling out whatever medicine suited the ailment, and ensuring that the patient took it as prescribed. Of course, we're not talking about cuts and scrapes or colds and flus and so forth. We're talking about the disease of samsaric delusion. The mind of samsara is a sickness in Buddhism. It's a sickness because it creates all of our stress, anxiety, suffering, pain, right? And so Buddhism views the mind as its patient. And to become a skilled physician is to know how to adroitly, using his words, apply the wisdom of Buddha-ness to cure that illness, to liberate from, to create a healthy mind, a knowing mind. Countless benefits, all these they had acquired, countless Buddha lands. See, so you could replace Buddha lands with the word experience, right? When you travel on vacation and you go to someplace you've never been, a foreign land or I don't know, Disney or a World Orlando or whatever it is, you've had an all-consuming different experience. You're the same person, and a lot of the things are actually the same. I mean, you eat every day, but when you eat on this vacation, it's different. It's a different knowing of the world, a different experience in your samsaric life. So it's a different land physically, but mentally, it's a different experience, right? So, countless Buddha lands. All these they had made marvelously pure. No one saw or listened to them without profiting thereby, and no actions of theirs were ever performed in vain. Such was the manner in which all merits adhered to them. So once you know how to decipher all of these verbiage, it becomes very clear that they're just repeating the same things over and over again about our attitude, our intent, how it plays out in samsara, right? The names of the bodhisattvas were bodhisattva viewing equality, bodhisattva viewing inequality, bodhisattva viewing equality and inequality, bodhisattva meditation freedom king, bodhisattva dharma freedom king, bodhisattva dharma forms. I don't think we're going to read through, oh my goodness. Yep. I was just going to say, I don't think we're going to read 32,000 bodhisattva names, are we? Bodhisattva Dharma Prince Manjushri, there were 32,000 bodhisattvas such as these. Thank you. There's a whole page of them. I'm not going to read them all. I think it becomes obvious, though, when you hear me in the past, I've talked about how these bodhisattva names, just like Buddha names, are kind of a container of mental attitudes and intent, different aspects of our human behavior. And it's really obvious when you read Bodhisattva accumulation of eloquence. I mean, it's literally a description of a certain type of behavior, right? So these are just another way of listing the qualities of enlightenment in people like you and I. If you don't know that, it can be, you can just, what is going on, right? It's overwhelming. But if you understand that it's a simple device reiterating basically what he's already said, that these are all perfections of wisdom, right? I'm going to mix terms throughout these because you have to understand that they're just different ways of talking about the same thing. There were also 10,000 Brahma kings, Shikin, and others who had come from the other four continent worlds to visit the place where the Buddha was and listening to the Dharma. Now, it's an interesting way to say that because I will also interject at this moment that there weren't, in fact, 32,000 bodhisattva and I don't know how many thousands of Brahma kings and so on and so forth. Again, it's not hyperbole. It is, but it's not hyperbole for hyperbole's sake. It's hyperbole for intricately and minutely defining the audience. And the audience that's being defined in each one of these sutras is you and I. It's all the facets of our minds, all our perceptions, all our possible perceptions, all our perceptions to come. In other words, the audience of the sermon of every sutra is you. And all of these descriptive, flowery discussions are aspects of you. Makes sense, right? The more you read these sutras, the more that will come out. It's easy to get lost in all of this. Absolutely. Read the Avatamsaka Sutra. The first sutra, the first sermon in his excitement of attaining Buddhahood that Shakyamuni preached. Oh my world. It is filled with these long, descriptive experiences. I mean, there's chapters on taste and the tongue, and what taste is, and what the tongue can do, and how it changes once you're enlightened. It has all these flowery names. No wonder it's called the Flower Garland Sutra. Make no mistake, though, the Lotus Sutra is about a flower too. And I make the comparison that Avatamsaka Sutra is Shakyamuni trying to describe to his disciples, his followers, his students, what it's like to be enlightened. And nobody understands what the hell he's talking about. So he stops teaching that sutra. And then in the end of his teaching career, he basically comes back to it, but from a different perspective. The Lotus Sutra contains the method by which he came to the experience of Buddhahood. Then go and read the Avatamsaka if you want, and you'll understand what you have to look forward to, what it is like to be enlightened. But to be enlightened, you do what he did. You do the Lotus Sutra. You repeat and you recite the law of all Buddhas. Your Buddha, my Buddha, Buddha-ness. Myoho Renge Kyo, right? So I'm going to read a little bit more of this, but, Yeah, I'll read up to the verse part, and then we are making, oh, that's right. All right. Talking to myself, I apologize. So there's 10,000 Brahma kings, Shikin, and others who had come from the four continent worlds to visit the place where the Buddha was and listen to the Dharma. There were also 12,000 Indras who came from other four continent worlds to take a seat in the gathering. In addition, there were other heavenly beings of great authority and power, as well as dragon spirits, yakshas, Gandharvas, Ashuras, Garudas, Kimanara. Anyway, every type of person is to hear this sermon. This is for anyone of any type, high, low, middling, laborer, king, it doesn't matter. This teaching is universal. It's for everyone, no matter what your state of mind or walk of life. That's what that means. Interesting that it also says, also arrived to take seats in the assembly were the various monks, nuns, laymen, and lay women. Something in early teachings that would have been unheard of. Nuns would have been unheard of. Right? To the rest of the world, certainly in India, women didn't have any kind of status to ameliorate their minds. Do they even have minds? We just own them. They clean the place. They breed children. That's what women are. I mean, we still have that kind of thinking in the world. How much more rampant do you think it was in Shakyamuni's time? So yeah, Shakyamuni many people disliked him. What, you're going to give freedom to everyone? What the hell's wrong with you? We're elitists. We're authoritarian. You stupid little man. Right? Buddha had his enemies. He was revolutionary. At that time, the Buddha, reverently surrounded by his multitude of countless hundreds and thousands of beings, expounded the law for them. He was like Mount Sumeru, king of the mountains, rising up out of the great sea, resting at ease in his lion's seat, clustered with jewels. He shed his radiance over all the great throng gathered there. So, as we keep talking about how these words like jewels, lions, throne, raised up in the air, you see the poetics of the dialogue here, right? It's not that he was surrounded by jewels. Get that image out of your head. It's not that he was hovering in the air. It's that this was the lofty sensation of listening to these brilliant teachings. The way they lifted your spirit. You see? At that time, a man named Jeweled Accumulation, son of a wealthy man of the city of Vaishali, along with 500 other sons of wealthy men, we know the class we're talking about now, right? Had come to the place where the Buddha was, all of them bearing parasols adorned with the 7 treasures, bowing their heads in obeisance before the feet of the Buddha. They joined in offering their parasols as alms to the Buddha. Here, we'll give you all this stuff. We want to score points. The Buddha, with his supernatural powers, then caused all of the jeweled parasols to come together and form one single parasol that spread over the entire 1,000,000,000-fold world. Oh, you're going to give me a gift, are you? Okay, well, this gift isn't, isn't of me. It isn't about me, because there is no me. This gift, then, if it is truly a gift, will be spread amongst everyone. That everyone can share from whatever benefits this gift brings. Because when you offer something to Buddha, you offer it to all. Buddha-ness. It kind of takes the steam out of these elites going, look at what we can give you, right? All the vast features of that world were visible there in its midst. All the Mount Sumerus of the 1,000,000,000-fold world, snow mountains, Muchilinda mountains. Now we're going to go through a bunch of mountains, encircling mountains, huge seas, rivers, water courses, brooks and streams, on and on and on. Heavenly palaces, dragon palaces, palaces of inner. All these were to be seen within the jeweled parasol. And the Buddhas of the 10 directions, the Buddhas as they preached the law, these too were visible within the jeweled parasol. Right? He made his point, in other words. At that time, all the members of the Great Assembly, witnessing this manifestation of the Buddha's supernatural powers, sighed in admiration at what they had never seen before. Pressing their palms together, they made obeisance to the Buddha, gazing up in reverence at the face of the world-honored one and never taking their eyes from it. Then the rich man's son, jeweled accumulation, in the presence of the Buddha, recited these verses of praise. And so there I'm going to pause and we'll continue. But this is a good setup and a really good example. Sorry. A really good example of how these sutras are constructed. Think of them all. Again, I'm going to sound like I'm repeating myself, but truly, these are stories of mind escape, ways of thinking, grandeur, understanding the grandeur, the amazement of this life. Not small, not particular, not individual, but taken as a whole, utterly astounding. And that's the place from which these sutras come. All right. I hope you got something out of that. Thank you for participating. Remember what I said about Gongyo. When we do this together, I know this is all pre-recorded, until the day that I can get services to this building and afford, like I want another microphone so I don't have to move the mic all the time, just have 2 setups, move the camera, all that. You know, it'll come in time. We're doing well with what we have, I think. And of course, your support just moves this along. And one day this channel will have enough members that hopefully it'll be able to support these expansions to live Gongyos, live sessions, and that kind of thing. I look forward to that. I really do. But you know, this is not a bad thing. We have a really incredible opportunity through these videos and the podcasts. Don't forget about those, to share our thoughts, our questions, and strengthen our practice. That's the bottom line. No matter what, if I talk about something that just totally just doesn't make sense to you, don't worry. It's okay. The bottom line is you have a mandala. Oh, by the way, I was going to mention, when we do these Gongyos together, whether it's pre-recorded or live, when that happens, please focus on your own mandala. I know I focused the camera on this one. That just seems logical to me. I'd rather you looked at that on the video format than the back of my head. But truly, as we're reciting and chanting, really focus on your mandala, because that's your connection to your Gohanzon. It's a very individual thing. So that's what I want you to grow, is your practice, your Buddha experience. All right? Barring that, maybe you don't have a mandala yet, or you have one from another organization that's not clearly Nichiren's scribe, right? It's something else. So if that's all you have to go on, then I understand. But please enshrine your own mandala, develop your connection to your mandala, because that is your Gohanzon. Okay? Thanks again for your time, for your listening, for your support. My patrons just got another a month's salary from you guys. Amazing. Thank you so much. Those of you who are my patrons individually, who send in whatever you can on a regular basis, it's astounding. It takes a lot to put this stuff together. I wish it was easier, but think about 20 years ago, 10 years ago, this would have been a very difficult thing. So we have a lot of fortune that's building around our Sangha and our world. Let's keep it going, but deeply appreciate all of you for even just listening to the podcast or watching these videos, okay? Strengthen your practice, stay healthy, be kind, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.